I cannot tell it all. If I had 10,000 tongues, it still wouldn't be enough. Tuku Nagwama really, when you heal completely. Chuku Marobimo, it's the Pendulum, we say now. What shall I render to Jehovah? For he has done so very much for me. Come on, everybody. What shall I render to Jehovah? Hey. For he has done so very much for me. Nara, 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 yeah. Nare, kele, nare, kele, mo. We sing nara, 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 yeah. Nare, kele, mo. Nare, kele, Julia. Nare, kele, Julia. Nare, kele, Julia.
That's my African chant right there. That African gospel. I love it. Love it. Nara, Nara, Kembe. I don't know, but it's amazing. I love the spiritual vibes from that song. What shall I render? You know what I mean? Just a beautiful, beautiful song. All right. So, what I want to talk to you guys today about, I'm going to get a little spooky with you guys. We're going to get a little spooky. This stuff can be a little bit eerie, definitely mystique. And it falls within the branch of some form, some type of mysticism or spiritualism. But folks, I must warn you, it is very real, very, very real. And I will illustrate and give evidence and proof of the reality and the factual facts of this, the subject matter. So what I want to talk about are thought forms, tulpas, and egregores. Egregores. I can't say that. I have a tongue twister. Egregore. I believe that's how it's pronounced. So we want to talk about all three of these different entities. They're all three different entities: egregore, tulpas, and thought forms. So let's start first with this. A thought form, right, is a thought that has been energized, intensified, and begins to take on a form, hence the term form, thought form. So again, a thought form is nothing more or less than a thought that is a reoccurring thought. So it's a thought that you're constantly having. If you speak to psychologists, you know, they if you study psychology, you'll come across this. They might not use the jargon thought form, because thought form is more in line with the mystiques, the esoterics, and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, they would have their own jargon. But a thought form is the reoccurrence of a thought that has been intensified, energized, and therefore taken on a form. And according to esoteric knowledge, according to the mystiques, the mysticisms, and the spiritualism, the thought form then it resides. It takes residence in the aura of a person. So your aura becomes the house for the thought form. Now you have positive thought forms and you have negative thought forms. The negative thought forms reside around your navel area, lumbar, and solar plex. The reason for that is because that's where your lower energy, in terms of the chakras, in terms of your energy levels, that's where your base level energies will reside, the lower portion of your body. And so negative thought forms are going to take residence, occupancy around your lumbar area, your lower back, your navel area, and your solar plex. And this is where they live, thought forms. Now, a positive thought form will reside around your heart area, because that's where your positive energy field is in terms of our electromagnetic energy fields. Everyone has an energy field. So a thought form that is positive will reside around your heart. A thought form that is negative is going to reside around your waist area, lower back, navel. So that's what a thought form is, okay? Now, a tulpa is a thought form that is fully developed. What I mean by that is this. The thought form, like I said, is a thought that is intensified over a period of time, a recurrent thought that intensifies, magnifies, and amplifies. And it takes residence, whether it's dependent on whether it's a positive or negative, it takes residence in your upper echelon or your lower, right? So the thought form, a tulpa, is a thought form that is fully developed. What I mean by that is this. The thought form that resides in your aura, negative or positive, it's an entity. Now, if you look up the word entity, entity means an individual. Entity means something that has a being, has its own sustenance, its own independence, its own mindset, personality, frame. An entity is anything that, or any being that can exist on its own, an entity. So the thought form, a tulpa, is a thought form that has become a fully developed entity. I'll say that again. A tulpa is a thought form that has been fully developed and has become its own entity. So now, if you study, like I said, the mysticisms, if you study about any of this stuff, you'll learn that thought forms are not thought forms. Tulpas live in your head. They literally live in your head. And if you think this stuff is what I'm saying is pseudoscience or spooky, whatever, woo-woo talk, go outside into your crime-infested areas, preferably, and look at the people you see walking around. Look at in Brooklyn a few years ago, they had all the people that was on, I forgot the drug. It was the drug that have everybody standing up and just leaning over. You guys know what that drug is. I can't remember the name of it. It slips my mind right now. Or just go into the city somewhere and look at the people who you see who are just who just gave up on life, right? They just gave up on life. They're homeless. They're on drugs. They're on, women who are prostituting themselves, hookers, whores, whatever. Just, look at a lot of people that you see out there who are merely biologically alive, but other than that, completely dead. That right there is the evidence of the tulpa, of the thought forms, negative thought forms, and that has become adults, so to speak, and have resided in your head as a tulpa. And a tulpa is, again, a thought form that has been fully developed into its own individual person or individual entity that resides in your head. The thought forms, again, one more time, positive thought forms reside around your heart area. Negative thought forms reside around your lumbar, waist, and back, lower back, navel area. When those thought forms become fully developed entities, and have their own personality and they actually exist independent of you, they move to your head. And when they are living in your head, they're called tulpas. You can go research this stuff. And if there's any doubt of this, right, look at yourself and think about all the noise and voices you have going through your head every now and then. All of us have these voices going through our head every now and then, right? But again, there's distinctions, right? When a thought form is fully developed, it becomes a tulpa, it resides in your head, right? Okay, so now egregore, however you pronounce it. The egregore is the thought form and the tulpa collectively. What it means by that, egregore is it's a collective, it's a comprehensive and collective thought form that governs a group. So it's a thought form, it's a tulpa. However, it governs a group as opposed to an individual. It works on a grander scale. So you might have an entire neighborhood that is under the control, the influence of the tulpa, and the thought form in the form of an egregore, because the egregore controls the entire group mentality. So mob thinking, group thinking, when you have parties, whether it's a political party or any kind of group that are all being governed by the same influence, is called, that thought form or that tulpa is called an egregore. Egregore, right. If I'm pronouncing, forgive me if I'm pronouncing the word wrong. So the interesting thing to understand is this. So let's go back to micromanaging, and let's re-engineer, reverse engineer, and get back to the basic principle of a thought form. So before it becomes a tulpa and before it grows and expands and take over an entire family or entire group of people, we have to understand this, right? Thought forms are transmitted to you. They're transmitted to you by your environment. They're transmitted to you by things in your environment. Again, thought forms are transmitted to you by things in your environment. Someone, you, anyone can transmit a thought form to you, good, bad, or indifferent. Whether that thought form takes residence in your aura is contingent and dependent upon whether there is a level. There has to be a matching frequency in your aura for that thought form to reside in your aura. If I transmit a thought form to you or someone transmit a thought form to me, in order for it to take root to become a tulpa and egregore later on, that thought form has to find a sympathetic vibration in your aura, meaning there must be something in you that agrees with that thought form that is being transmitted to you for there to be what's called synchronicity. Okay, so there can be no synchronicity, there can be no synchronizing, no frequency matching, there can be no corresponding harmonious amalgamation. Right, there can be no harmonious amalgamation, synchrony matching, frequency correspondence if there is nothing in your aura that agrees with that thought form that is being transmitted to you. So there must be, again, a sympathetic resonance for that thought form to resonate with your aura. And what this means and what this translates to is simple as this. No one can ever put anything on you. No one can put any spells, any curses, any voodoo. No one can put anything on you if what they're sending to you is not already in your spirit. It must find in other words, simple term, it has to have a friend. You see what I'm saying? There must be something in your aura that is friendly to that thought form that is being transmitted to you. If your aura is pure, see, I'm a Virgo, and the symbol of the Virgo is the maiden. There's a maiden, and the maiden, the virgin, the maiden, and the symbol simply means purity, purity of intentions. So there's a lot of purity naturally in my DNA, so to speak. There's a lot of purity. So a person cannot, a thought form that is negatively charged cannot find residence in my aura because there's nothing in my aura that's going to be receptive to that thought form. So that entity or that negative energy that someone is trying to put into you, it will backfire. See, the first law of thermodynamics is energy is never created or destroyed, simply transformed or transferred. So if someone sends you a negative thought form, but you are covered in the blood of Jesus, you're walking with your guardian angels, you have your head is on tight, your intellectual, your spirit, your soul, you're prayed up, you got the armor of God on you, that thought form is going to boomerang. It's going to backfire, return to sender. I mentioned this in previous videos, and it will have devastating consequences on the sender. Okay, so be careful. You don't want to send bad stuff towards people because it will come back to you, especially if that person that you're trying to harm is of a good nature. So yeah, so it's very important that we understand that. It's also important that you understand this. Once a thought form, good or bad, takes residence in your aura, this is very important. Your computer, I have a computer here in front of me. Your computer's always, there's a program, right? Windows 8, 10, whatever. There's a program. There's multiple programs. Your computer's always running on that program. Even if the computer shuts down, if it's not completely turned off, there's a program that's running. There's always a program running. Thought forms, think of them like that program. They're always running. So when a thought form attaches itself to your heart area, which is a good thought form, that thought form is going to continue to run like the computer program runs. It's constant. When I say run, I mean that it's vibrating. There's a vibrational frequency in that thought form. In that vibrational frequency, it's going to create a field. That field has what's called electromagnetism in that field. And what it's going to do is look for other thought forms or other entities in your environment. That's why it's so important, folks, to make sure you have a very spiritually clean space. right? You want to make sure you go through your house, you want to pray it up, make sure your space is clean, because that thought, that once that thought form takes hold, it's going to find other entities, other similarities, other energies that are of a matching frequency in your environment, in your surroundings. And then what it's going to do, it's going to attract that to itself. And then by attracting to that self, that thought form is going to be amplified, it's going to be magnified, it's going to expand. And the nature, here's what's important, in the amplification, in the magnification, the magnifying, there is the nature of the thought form. Now, if it's a good thought form, it has a good nature. So if the nature of that thought form is peace, if the nature of that thought form is love, if the nature of that thought form is goodness, if the nature of that thought form is financial prosperity, whatever, it's going to manifest itself. It has no choice. It has to. It's called transmutation, right? It has to transmute into physical reality. And here's why it has to. It's unwavering, unequivocal absolutism here. It must, because of this very basic, elemental, fundamental rule. Matter must be manipulated into its physical equivalence. Facts. Factory upon factory upon factory. That's just facts, right? It's like that. Bars. You know what I mean? It has to happen. Matter must be manipulated and transferred and transformed, transmuted, permutation into its physical equivalence. Matter is the building blocks of everything. So it must happen. That's just the science. Don't ask me why. It's the way the universe works. So it's important that we understand, what thought forms are and where they reside. I got some notes I took down here. Thought forms. I got some more stuff I took here. Okay, so yeah, as I mentioned before, it continues to grow, and it draws other energies in its environment, and it metastasizes like cancer. Like, cancer metastasizes, thought forms metastasize. And like I said, they metastasize, they grow, they develop to become, tulpas. And I'm a little bit wary of the whole tulpa thing. I don't want nothing living in my head and talking to me. I don't, there's something. But like I said, it's real. I've been walking in the city, whether I'm going to work or getting off of a train or I'm on the train, and you see people talking to themselves all the time, having full-blown conversations. They're gone. They're in Bellevue. They're placing people in the sick madhouse. And what we're witnessing when you see that, the science to that is what I'm explaining here. You have tulpas, these creatures, imaginary creatures that lives in folks' heads. And so when you see people having conversations, they're not talking to themselves. To the naked eyes, to the natural eyes, they're talking to themselves. But if you have the third eye, which is your perception, your third eye is people will say it's your pineal gland. Well, yeah, your pineal gland does secrete DMT, the dimethyltryptamine, which is a drug that allows you to access the fifth dimension and so on and so forth. So I do agree to that. However, your third eye is also your perception. Your perception is your paradigm, the way you view the world, not from your natural eyes, but rather your understanding, your ability to discern. Your ability to discern is your perception. And being able to discern simply means being able to distinguish, to decipher, and to tell the false from the fictitious, to tell the real from the illusion, right? Cutting through the illusory images of illusion and seeing truth, seeing what real reality is. To see reality, you have to look beyond what we see as reality. Okay, to have your third eye open means you see the reality behind the reality, if that makes any sense. So, with the whole tulpa thing, I study about it because it's good for me to know these things so I can guard myself against them. But I'm not a co-signer or an advocate of this. I don't want anything living in my head. I just want just me living in me. That's it. Okay. But the thought forms, I'm not against the thought forms, but here's why. Because I like the idea of a positive thought reoccurring in my mind, in my aura, in my energy field, because I understand the power of thoughts. Like I did videos, what is a thought? And I understand what thoughts are, the nature of a thought, how they work, how everything that we see in the world is a result of a thought. So I co-sign thought forms. I'm for positive thought forms, not the negative, but the positive. So make sure you guard and if you listen to any of this stuff, make sure you are monitoring your consciousness and what thought forms you're going to allow, what thoughts you're going to allow to take form in your consciousness. Because remember, folks, the thoughts that you are allowing to form and to metastasize, to germinate in your consciousness, eventually shows up in your reality, in your physical reality. So until next time, y'all know what I'm gonna be doing: cooking books and listen to the song right here. Peace.